everyone, my name is Lillian Manna and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing how to expand yourself, and we're going to talk a little bit about how I did it. Because when I was relearning myself and reflecting, I was able to pinpoint some general concepts about how I was able to expand myself and immerse creativity within my adulthood and become a more well-rounded person as well as a happier person. When I was a young kid, I was very creative, as I'm sure a lot of kids have been or have said, or people have noticed. You know, creativity does tend to be more prominent in childhood. Of course, it makes sense because we don't have that logical mind just yet, but in reality, the creativity doesn't have to stay in childhood. So when I was younger, I used to enjoy drawing, writing stories, reading, dancing. I used to enjoy drawing so much. I actually submitted I think it was like some pamphlet through the Art Institution of Los Angeles, and I had copied their sketch and sent it in. Funny enough, I got a letter back saying, "Sorry, you're too young, but go ahead and try when you're older." And I was just through the roof when I got that. I was like, wow, okay, I do have the chops for it. But as I got older, I became a more analytical adult, as a lot of us tend to do. I tend to be more drawn to the sciences, you know, biology, statistics, anything with numbers, because those were facts. And through relearning myself, I was able to merge the both. So before I was able to merge the two, the analytical side and the creative side, I had to really reflect on where did my creativity go? Where was it originally? And so during that process, I was able to pinpoint those three concepts, and I used that to help integrate my creativity again. The first concept is very obvious. It's childhood interests. You know, consider what you would do or what you were drawn to when you were a child. Use your adult mind or your intellect to discover what parts call to you. It could be as simple as drawing or going in dirt and looking for bugs. It's whatever interests you, and going further into it as an adult and seeing the creative aspects but within a logical mind. It's going to be very interesting, and it's honestly very fun once you really immerse yourself in it. It can feel really uncomfortable at first, because when I would draw, I knew I wasn't a professional. I didn't have great skills, but being able to express myself through color and through glitter and stickers just made me incredibly happy. And it didn't need to be perfect. It didn't need to be some Picasso painting, because it was mine and I was happy enough with that. And when figuring out the parts that call to you, just keep exploring that. Do what you did as a child and see if it does translate to adulthood, regardless of if it makes you feel awkward at first or uncomfortable. If it makes you happy, then just keep trying. I still enjoy doing just mundane art and using stickers and glitter or anything with just color, because it makes me happy. I used to think that was frivolous and not worth putting in the effort for, but in reality it does help overall. And so once you start doing that, you'll have new knowledge and perspective almost instantly into what your previous interests were, and that can in the end be a healing thing for yourself as well. The next concept that I realized was spontaneous. Obviously, creativity can be spontaneous, and in that sense, I mean seeing something and being drawn to it, thinking, oh, that sounds fun, oh, that sounds interesting. Well, why don't you go down that route and try to really see if it is something for you and something that you want to use to create. Because being able to just create something and express yourself doesn't mean it needs to be perfect. It can be spontaneous, and it's something that you still created. It might not be perfect, but it's perfect to you because that's what you wanted to create and put into the world. And even if it doesn't look exactly how you saw it in your head, it still has that meaning behind it. So I would write down these spontaneous things that would sound fun and look into it. So I began, you know, painting on an easel, which is not easy, and I'm not used to using different mediums, but I looked up how I can do it, and I started painting shadows of flowers, shadows of plants, and they're not perfect, but I'm happy that I did it. And it does give me a peace of mind at the end of the day, because I can just take my mind off something so logical and having to think about next steps all the time. And when I would note these things down that spontaneously would catch my attention, later I would go down the line and start just looking up like 5-minute basic videos on what it entails. Later on, it becomes a month later, I'm watching whole hour videos. So I would note it down and just get started. If it interests you, go for it, even if it's something that you wouldn't normally do. The last concept is polarity, and I would say that's probably the concept that gave me the most information about just who I was in general and trying to become creative again. I felt as though I've lived in different polarities, and life can be seen as a spectrum. When I was a child, I lived on the creative side, but now as an adult, I lived on the analytical side, when in reality, they can meet in the middle, and I can feel at peace with myself because I know that I can reach for what I need at that time. I can be creative or I can be analytical. One doesn't outweigh the other, but can be pulled for different circumstances. And just because one is more, I guess, concrete and physical doesn't mean the creative, psychical version is not just as important. And so in polarity, I started thinking, well, if I was analytical and I went completely opposite, I was creative. So in all concepts that I was interested, I started looking at the complete opposite and shifting from pole to pole and finding the best parts of each different polarity and pulling from it to make an amalgamation in the middle of what I actually want it to be. Another instance is logic and intuition. Someone can think logically with numbers and facts and things that are physically there, but intuition can be real as well. It's something that you feel inside that just kind of, the best way I can explain it is it's a fact inside that's trying to come out. So you want to try to express that and not feel like it's any less because it's not something in concrete form. Another polarity that I notice is something in order versus abstract, and that's in the creativity and creative projects that I was working on, because of course everything can be ordered and beautiful, but it can be abstract as well and still be just as beautiful. So why not pull from both and just do what I wanted to do? It's okay to go from one side to the other and not be a hypocrite. And that's what I realized my biggest issue was. It was, why am I going to be creative if I'm analytical and I prefer logic? Well, because you can only appreciate the other by having the opposite there. And pulling it all in just really helped me see that it was possible, and I have been happier and just genuinely more at peace in my life. So those are the 3 concepts that I was able to pinpoint, but I wanted to also emphasize that you should not let thoughts of what others think of you deter you from what you actually want to do. Just because, you might not be able to use it to make money, that's the thing I always hear. You can't make money, you can't profit off of it. But if it makes you happy, then what does it matter? If you're getting all your other responsibilities done, it doesn't mean that you can't integrate it just a bit. Or being told it's childish or weird. And so what if it is? It doesn't matter what other people think, as long as it's making you happy and joyful, even at peace for a few minutes. Who is someone else to say that you're wrong? Or even going against a tradition. A lot of us are grown in tradition and cultures that can see things as off-putting or not what everyone else does. So who cares? Try it anyway. And it's not to say you have to announce it to the world, but you can figure things out you want on your own, and then once you feel more secure in what you are creating, then you can share it. It's not always you have to show everyone and get approval. It's for yourself. Just keep exploring and make time for yourself. Pencil it down, and when you have some free time, just take 5 to 10 minutes and it'll end up growing over time. So my final thoughts on creativity is just that expanding yourself in any way, or learning more in depth, or integrating past creative things into yourself will always solidify yourself. And it sounds contrary that you're going to be solidified by pulling in more things, when in reality that can make it more jumbled. But if you really discern and find out what it is that you like to create and why, that can help solidify, so you can pull from either side of the spectrum and be able to use it and trust yourself within it, but not think that you will end up getting lost in something too analytical or something too creative and abstract. You'll be right in the middle, and you know that it's possible. It can create less worry about, falling from where you are when you know where you can be. So even if you do fall back a bit, you know that you live there in the middle, so you can pull from each way. Even if you do need to lean on one for a certain bit of time, you know that the other one still exists. And that's the thing, you kind of have to just keep nurturing it little by little. It's not going to expand on itself. And you can take and handle any pushback, and even take a break from creating this new version or this more well-rounded version of yourself, and just kind of sit back and think about what you are doing and if it is something that you want to do it. And when you realize that it is bringing you joy, then it's like a springboard, and you're going to just come back stronger, and you're going to be able to pull from which angle you need to. And in reality, I would say that can help you just be a better person overall. So those are my thoughts on how I was able to expand myself and immerse creativity into my life again. And so I will be making more of these videos, hopefully more consistently, should my schedule allow it. And yeah, keep an eye out for it. Thanks everyone, and have a good one. Bye.